Welcome back to my channel. I just recently posted a video showing how to engrave dog tags with the Cricut Maker machines, but I had a lot of requests for showing how to do this on the Cricut Explore machines, so that's what I'll be doing in today's video. I'll be making a dog tag and adding a chain to it for my son. If you are new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribed and hit the bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos, and let's get into the project. I purchased the engraving blade on Amazon. I'll put the link down in the description box. Before getting into this tutorial, I want to give you a little info on it. This is not a Cricut brand product. If you place a non-Cricut brand blade or other tools in the machine, then it voids that 1-year warranty if the machine breaks. Cricut will not be able to fix your machine, so if you're worried about that, you might want to wait until that 1 year is up. Here's a screenshot of Cricut's warranty. I just picked the Cricut Explore Air 3.1 and it shows what Cricut will replace if your machine breaks in the first year. This came with instructions, but I'll go over how to use this blade in the video. I'm going to be using the same dog tags I used from the last video, and I'm using the black one, but instead of adding a name to it, I'm going to be adding an image, and I just think this would be really fun as birthday party favors. This is made out of aluminum. You'll want soft metals like aluminum, brass, thin copper. You can do pewter and sterling silver. You'll want the thickness to be under 2 millimeters so it will fit under those rollers. I'm going to measure this again to make sure it's the same measurements I got last time. I love this little cheat sheet that I found online. It really helps me figure out the decimals for measurements. It looks like the width of the dog tag is 1.937 inches and the height is 1.125 inches. I also measured where that hole is and it's about 0.25 inches. I'm going to add the blade to my Explore machine. I take the protective cover off. I'm using the Explore Air 2 machine, but this will work with any of the Explore machines. I take out my fine point blade, then add the engraving blade into clamp B. Now let's head to Cricut Design Space and I'll show you how I put this together. First, I want to make a template that is the size of my dog tags. I'll go over to my shapes and I'm going to grab a rounded rectangle. I'm going to go up to my operation type and switch this to a guide. Then I'm just going to come up to my sizing and put in those dimensions that I just found. I'll unlock this first, then I'll type that in. I'm just going to zoom in so it's a lot easier to see this. I'm going to go back to shapes and grab a square. I'm going to make this 0.25 inches. This will basically resemble the hole that's in the dog tags, so it helps me figure out my sizing. I'm just going to bring this over here. I'm going to bring it to the right this time. Last time I brought it on the left side, but with the image that I'm using, it makes sense to have it over here. I want this right in the center. I'm going to highlight over both of these. I'll go to align, then I'll align to right, then I'll go to center vertically. I'm going to group this together. I actually think I can make the square a guide too, which would be really cool. Then I don't have to hide it at all. Let me click on the square to see if it lets me do that. That is pretty cool. So basically the hole is about right here, and this just helps me figure out my sizing for my image. I'm going to be making this dog tag for my son Josh, who's 10, and he's really into the books Wings of Fire and into dragons, so I am going to add a dragon image to this. I'm just going to use one of Cricut's images. I'll type in dragon. So with this engraving tool, if you choose a solid image like this, it's just going to do the outside, which can look pretty cool. But if you choose something like this image, then you'll be able to see a little bit more detail. So I'm going to choose something like that. I think this one and this one's pretty cool, but I had one specific one that I found earlier. Here it is. I'm going to do this one. I'll hit the plus to add it into the canvas. So that looks pretty cool. I'm just going to line this in my guide. I think that looks really good for the sizing. Now for the machine type at the top right, I already have the Explorer selected, but if you have any other machine selected, you'll want to make sure to choose the Cricut Explore family. Then over on operation type, when you click on it, you obviously don't have the option to engrave. So you're going to keep this as a basic cut. Instructions I showed you earlier said to make sure you set your project to a cut. I'm going to click Make It. I don't need to hide these guides because it doesn't pull over to the Make It screen. I'll select On a Mat and confirm. Now this is the tricky part. You have to do just a tiny bit of guesswork, but I am going to center this. So what I'm going to do is put the dog tag directly in the center of the mat. So the mat is 12 inches by 12 inches, so I'm going to put it at the 6-inch by 6-inch line, which is right about here. And you can zoom in, which is really helpful for this part. I know that my hole is on this side, so I know that I'm going to need to bring this over more. Now, I kind of need to figure out the center of this dragon. It's a little difficult to tell exactly where the center is, but I did look on Cricut Design Space to kind of get an idea, and I think I need to move this up just a little bit. I'm zooming in even more to make it a little bit easier. Okay, I think I'm going to move it down just a tiny bit. I know my dog tag is going to end right about here, so I feel like that's a good spot for that. And trying to figure out the center for this is a little difficult, but I think that looks pretty good there. I might bring it down just the tiniest bit more. Now I'll select continue. The instructions say to use the cardstock setting, but I tested that out and I found it not to engrave deep enough, so I am going to use the glitter cardstock setting, and I am going to change my default pressure to more. You'll want to use your purple strong grip mat. I'm just using the Nakapa brand, which works great, and I placed my dog tag right in the center of the mat. You'll also want to secure it in place with tape. I'm just using blue painter tape, and you'll want to put it as close to the edge of all 4 sides as possible because you don't want the engraving tool to be running over that tape. Then I load the mat into the Cricut machine and press the start button. Here's what it looks like while it's engraving. This is super cool to watch. One thing I noticed with this is with the actual Cricut engraving tool, it picks up and spins, and it just helps with the longevity of the blade. So I'm not sure how long this blade lasts. If you're doing a lot of engraving projects, then I would say I would recommend the Cricut Maker machines. But if you're doing fun little projects like this, then this tool is really great. With the setting I chose, the machine will run over the cut lines twice. I just barely engraved a little into the tape, but that's okay. You can also see these little fragments on there. Don't run your finger over it because it could cut your finger. I'm going to remove the tape first, then I am going to use that tape to press down on the dog tag to remove those little fragments. In my last video, I used a lint roller and that was just too strong. It took off a little bit of the color, so someone has suggested painter's tape to me and it just worked so perfectly. Then I remove it from the mat. I also bought some keychains from Amazon, so I am going to add that to the dog tag. Once again, here's how this turned out. It is super cool. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments and what you think. Let me know if you've tried this before. I would love it if you gave this video a thumbs up if it was helpful, and subscribe to my channel if you are new.